Okay, YouTube, I wanted to do a quick update to the FFmpeg video that I did earlier on how to record your screen. Do kind of a screen, people call it a screen capture, but it really is a screen record. But in any case, I did make some changes. You'll notice that my script looks quite a bit different. Well, not really quite a bit different, but a little bit different. I've added some features to the script itself, and that's kind of the nice thing about doing shell scripts, is that you can always add on to it. You know, get it working first, and then you can add on to it, which is what I've done here. What you'll notice is this is the one that I was using before, right here. Okay, that's the one that I showed you. The only difference that you'll see from this one and the last one is probably this section right here, where I went through the hardware. I found out that you can also use the camera setting if you're doing it like I am and you're working off your webcam. You got to double check it, like I showed you how to double check how the hardware is listed. But I noticed in there that on at least one of those listings for my USB camera, it actually lists the hardware as camera. So I changed it for no other reason than really, I didn't want there to be any chance of plugging in other USB devices and having it change on me, which actually did happen. When I was doing the videos on setting up the Raspberry Pi with Arch Linux to run off the USB hard drive, I had to keep plugging in my USB hard drive and my SD card reader, which is also USB. And what that ended up doing is that ended up throwing off the hardware location, I guess, which I don't really understand why it did, but it actually changed it from 2,0 to 1,0, which, again, I don't want to have to deal with all that, but I only have one camera, and it actually listed in the hardware as camera, so I went ahead and did that. But that's really the only thing you're going to see different here than what was in my last video from this line right here. Now, what I'm using now is this line, okay? This command line. And the thing you'll notice that's different here, I mean, again, I've also used camera for my hardware, but you'll notice that I took out this Q-scale line and I have changed how it saves the file. Okay? Now let me go through this, because this is actually got a lot of good information that you can use elsewhere if you're getting into writing shell scripts. And I'm going to kind of explain this a little bit. I'm going to do a video on everything that I learn as I go along, and I'll just keep adding to the video later on, going through shell scripting, because I'm just learning how to do it, really. Used a program called AutoIt in Windows, because I'm a gamer, but use that a lot, and so I'm versed in AutoIt, but this is a little bit new. Not really that different. There's a few things. The syntax is a little different, but not really too bad. So let's go through this. If you look up here, you'll notice that the very first line, well, this line's different. Now, before I guess on the other one, I also had a -X, and that is, I assume, to display explicit, instructions. It'll display in the terminal when you run it everything that you're doing. I took that out because really, like, as an example, when it goes in and it does, some of these other things like read file, it'll put a little plus sign next to it and it'll say read file. So it's telling you what you're doing. I don't need to see all that. I really put that in for me as a personal preference. I'll put that in as a means of, debugging. When I'm trying to work the bugs out of it, I want to see at what point it's failing and what kind of feedback I'm getting from the terminal when it's having issues. But because I've got this working well now, I've taken that out. So that is different. But the very first line here in the program itself is, you'll see it says date SF equals get time. Now, this get time is held within these, and I almost want to call them apostrophes, but they're not. Okay, this is where I ran into a big problem when I was trying to get it done. I kept thinking those were single quotes or apostrophes, and they're simply not. These are, I would call them accents. It's on your tilde key right next to your number 1. If you look on the bottom side of that, that when you hit it without the shift, that is actually the character. And once I figured that out, which I'm almost embarrassed that it took me this long to figure it out. But once I figured that out, then I was able to have it save. And I'll go through that here in a little bit, probably on the other video that goes through the shell script, or shell scripting. But in any case, what I've done here is I've said, okay, I'm going to define this date SF as a variable. Okay, that is a variable, and I define it by what is in this program. Okay, or this command. Now, I wrote a single line shell script that I can use in any program or any script that I'm running now to help. And the whole reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to assign unique file names, okay, and also use them as timestamps, because this information can also be used, I mean, if I take the dash out of this, you could actually subtract one timestamp from the next to see, lapse time. There's all kinds of things that you can do with it. But in any case, this is the command right here. There's not much to it. Date, space, plus, and I use % lowercase m for the 2-digit month, % lowercase d for the 2-digit day, and % lowercase y for the 2-digit year. Now you can use capital Y here, which I've seen some people do, and that'll, like right now, it'll spit out 2013. So it'll give you 4 digits if you use the capital. Then I put in the hours, minutes, seconds, and if you look over here at what it actually put out, there's 10, 10, 13, and I started this video at 2:40 and 7 seconds is when I started. So this is a great way to be able to create, unique file names, which is why I've used it here. But again, I've taken this shell script that I wrote, this get times shell script, and I stuck it in my bin file, okay, which is in your root directory, and it's your top level directory, and it's /bin. If you take a shell script and you drop it in there, and you can then use it in the command line like I did scap. You'll notice that up here when I started this screen record, all I had to do was type in scap. That was it. And that's also because I have my scap shell script, the script right here, in my bin directory. So that's another little tip. But in any case, let's go back through what this is doing. Again, get time, you see what that did is it just pulls the information. It pulls the date, the time, down to the second. And what I have it do here is I have it echo this line that you see right here. It's the very first one. It says current date, time, colon, and then it spits it out. This is optional. This isn't important for this to run, but I kind of like to have it as a reference, just as another means of making sure that I know which one is the one that I might want to use in the file name. And then I have it echo the variable now, because remember, up here, I've now saved the date and time, that information from this script. I've saved it as a variable that I can use anywhere else in my script. Okay? And to use it, all you have to do is precede it with a $sign. Okay? Like you do if you're used to scripting in something else, then that's usually the way it works anyway. That's a $sign will usually designate a variable, and it's not any different here. Okay, so that would be the next line below it. Now I add in an echo and then just 2 double quotes to enter a blank line. Now there is another way to do that. I believe it's I think it's the end designation or something like that. I just find it easier to do this so I can kind of actually see how this is going to show up on the screen. That's just the way I do it, and it works just fine. The next line says save new file as. Now remember, the echo command, all it does is print whatever's, whatever follows it up on the screen. May not actually need quotes. I'm used to using them, so I use them. but it doesn't affect anything adversely. So, but you'll see that that's right there, save new file as. And then at this point, you'll see this read command, read file. Okay, and what that does is that says, okay, there's going to be an input, and I actually have to type in what I want that value to be. Okay, and I typed in scap. All right, not because it's the program that I'm running, but it's because what this video is based on. So when it goes to save it, and you'll see that right here, right down here, actually the designation file down here, it'll actually append that on there, and that's just, again, another way for me to be able to, quickly see what that video is about in a one-word kind of scenario. Okay, so that's the read file. It'll create this variable and have you input, or have the user rather, input the value for it. And then I add another empty space. I change directories to my home vids directory, which is where I save all my screen captures. And then I have it tell me, just in case, I have it say saving new video file, and then it gives out the whole file now, which is your date.sf, because it pulls that information, your date and time, dash file, whatever you put in, and save it as an MKV, because if you look down here, that's what I've got saved. That's the format I've got it saved in. So that's actually the information that it spits out up here. Date and time. Let's see, date, time, and then what I typed in was scap, and then an MKV, and then it tells me where. Now, I just put that in because that never changes. That's why I changed the directory before it actually starts recording. Okay? So that it will record where it needs to go. Alright. Now, if you look down here, that's exactly what this does. Like I said, all this is the same, but this is about the only thing that changed. So if you want to use variables in your screen capture, this is one heck of a great way to always assign a unique file number. This will save you from ever copying over something. Like I said, if you look at it how I had it before, I had every single video that I recorded listed as new. So when I would try to start another one, if I didn't go back into that folder and rename the last video, if I wanted to keep it, the last video, then it would ask me to overwrite it, which would essentially remind me to go back in, and now I have to change it. So this actually prevents that from happening, or alleviates that issue, because now every time I go to record, it's going to be given a unique file name. So there's not any chance of overwriting an existing file. I just have to make sure to go in and clean up all the crap files that I create, because I do reshoot videos multiple times. But in any case, that's the update here. I hope this has helped out. I've given you some information on variables, and that's probably how I'm going to title this video, so that we're all on the same page as far as what it is. But in any case, I hope that's helped out, and you should be able to use some of that information on other scripting. And like I said, I do plan on doing a video just on what I'm learning on how to do these shell scripts in Arch Linux. Well, with that, I'm going to quit the video, and thank you very much for watching. Tune back in. Please subscribe if you're finding the information that I'm giving you useful. It does help, especially with rankings. So I appreciate that. I'd like to be at the top of every search that pops up under whatever it is that I'm doing, obviously. But in any case, with that, have yourself a good one, and we'll see you on the next video.